Good afternoon and welcome to the latest on the fourth period presented by CCM Hockey. I'm Kate Pettersen and I'm joined by Dennis Bernstein and David Pagnotta to break down some of the latest news in the NHL. And guys, we talked about it. A lot of things that we've talked about have been happening, not to toot our own horn, but Colorado in particular, we talked about the goaltending situation. They've had a busy 10 days. They go out and they get Scott Wedgwood, and we're still questioning, what are they going to do for number one? Well, Mackenzie Blackwood, is he the solution to the problem? Well, we're about to find out, but it sounds like they have a better 1-2 punch now. It looks like that on paper. So what do you guys think of that situation and maybe what else Colorado needs to do to keep the train rolling?
Yeah, well, Kate, I mean, yeah, as you said, we've talked about this after the Wedgwood deal last week. We were kind of wondering, is that it? Is that really the solution that you're looking for? And clearly not, as they ended up getting Blackwood out of San Jose. Now, this trade almost happened last week. They had been talking about this for a little over a week. The deal happened on Monday, but there was an offer on the table from Colorado that clearly San Jose liked because they acted on it. But this was something that had been going on for about a week, and everyone was kind of on notice in San Jose, kind of waiting. Now, kudos to them. They kept it quiet, so good job. But clearly, Colorado needed to address their goaltending, and the confidence they had in Georgiev, well, it fleeted. So they go out, they get Blackwood, whose numbers aren't the most impressive, but take into account he was on San Jose. But his performance overall and the underlining numbers, impressive. So Colorado's banking on that, and now what they're going to be doing moving forward, guys, is getting a sense primarily of how they can maneuver their salary cap. Is Gabe Landeskog going to be able to play this season? That's going to affect the type of impact moves they make later on in the year. It sounds like they're settled right now, but they're going to keep tabs on that situation and how that's going to add to their roster, or how that's going to allow them to add to their roster, DB, later on in the season closer to the trade deadline.
Yeah, now we can rename them the Colorado Force since they have Scott Wedgwood, Mackenzie Blackwood, and
Miles Wood.
Miles Wood. Exactly. So that's it. Look, here's the thing. Whether you like the trade or not, and you're a Colorado Avalanche fan, your GM was decisive. He knew they weren't good enough. We knew they weren't good enough. Everyone knew. And the fact that, look, it clears a path for a scar-off in San Jose without question. Because Blackwood's numbers are really good. I think there's a stat. His first and last game as a Shark, he had 50 saves in both games. Right? So you're right about facing a lot of shots. Look, if he can revert back to his New Jersey days, they got a lot of legit shot. Because remember, this team, the Colorado Avalanche, still remembers they won a cup with Darcy Kemper. So they're hoping that maybe they can do the trick with Blackwood, but it was becoming untenable. You watch the games night in, night out with the Avalanche, and say they play relatively well. They get offense from the guy from their big boys, and they can't stop the puck. Well, this combination of goaltenders should stop the puck better. Is it good enough to get them 3 or 4 rounds? I'm not sure, but you got to give the Avalanche credit for being decisive when they knew they had a big gap in goal.
Another thing to kind of look at here is what San Jose could potentially do down the road, because Georgiev is an unexpiring contract, and they have some possibility of kind of adding dollars here as well. But they have some other assets that teams are going to look at later on in the season. Granlund certainly being one of them.
Jumping over to the East for a second, one of the biggest, craziest rumors of the last week or so, especially with the hype coming out of New York, was that Brady Tkachuk could be on the move. Now, the Sens and Brady have come out and said, no, he's an Ottawa Senator. He's staying here. He's not someone we want to lose. And I mean, I'm sure every team would jump in on the opportunity there. But now that we know he's not up for grabs, what else can Ottawa do? Where else might they be looking? What other trade piece might they have that could be lucrative and could pay off dividends?
Yeah, they're going to look at options. And I have no doubt the Rangers and pretty much 30 other teams would love to have a Brady Tkachuk on their team. And this happens all the time. Hey, is he available? No. Are you sure? Yeah. All right. That's the end of it. So discussion, semantics, whatever. But he's not available, as you said. And, he wants to ride this out. But the Senators also know that it's time now. They got Allmark. They made some additional moves in the offseason. They insulated this roster, and it's still not up to snub. So they're going to look at making some other type of moves. Now, one player that has generated interest and has been a discussion point for the last little while, and it shouldn't be a secret, is Josh Norris. 25 right now. He's got term on his contract, 3 more years, I believe, and a decent cap hit for his capabilities. Now, there's some talk of, Shabbat's name being out there, even Batherson, but it sounds like Norris may be the primary guy that they move in terms of their core to look at making it a big impact shakeup type of move. Calgary's expressed a lot of interest in him in the past. I wonder if that's an avenue they explore. But either way, Ottawa wants to do something. They know it's time to get things rolling here and get into playoff contention. So Norris could be a guy that moves out. But again, this would be a larger impact type of hockey trade.
If you want to shift the paradigm, Kate, look, I get it. I get the rumors. If you watch the Rangers play, the guy they absolutely need would be Brady Tkachuk. They're not going to get him. Now, I get some of the chatter because remember, Brady's no movement clause. As much as he says he wants it there, clicks in next year. So they could technically trade him without his approval right now. Are they going to do that? Well, you want to set back the franchise 5 years, be my guest. And they've also asked Claude Giroux, who is a productive player, who's unrestricted at the end of the season. That could be another option. Now, a rental, you're not going to get that much, but there are other Shane Pinto, who hasn't played great when he came back. Could be another option. So there are options in the market for Ottawa to change the paradigm. It's not trading Brady Tkachuk. You're going backwards, really. Because what value are you going to get for that player? It's a different player, but like Chris Kreider in New York. He's at $6.5 million this year and next year. He's going to score 30 goals. Where are you going to replace him? How would the Senators replace that player on a package coming back? And you know the old saying, you never want to be the team that trades the best player in the trade. And that would certainly be the case if they chose to trade Brady Tkachuk. So nice for chatter, nice for us. But the reality of it is, I think less than 1%. I'll go to 0.
Absolutely. There's been plenty of chatter. We haven't had a shortage of things to talk about. One last thing to touch on. Monday and Tuesday of this week, it was the Board of Governors meeting, and Gary Bettman said that he hopes that they can begin negotiations on a CBA extension with the NHLPA in February. Now, some of the things that we're hearing is that there might be an even greater increase in the salary cap, potentially an expansion of the schedule. What are you guys hearing coming out of those meetings? And let's talk a few more rumblings and rumors.
Yeah. Everybody loves this kind of stuff, especially around the CBA. They got another season to go. Both sides want to get this done. And there have been very loose preliminary discussions. But as you said, formal talks, they hope to start in February in and around Four Nations. And they want to roll this out. They want to get something done by the summer. That seems to be the goal from the league side. I've got to imagine the NHLPA wants the same thing. So they're going to really intensify that once we get into the new year, into February and on. And, there are a lot of different talking points, a lot of going back and forth. The season, the salary cap is one of them. The season's the other. The cap is going to go up minimum to $92.5 million next season based on the current CBA. After that, when the new CBA kicks in, there's going to be a big inflator. So they're trying to smooth that jump. So we could see something in the 95 range. That's the conservative guess right now, but that will be part of the CBA negotiations moving forward. They don't finalize the next CBA officially until the summer, right before during the Cup Finals, right before we get to July 1. So they've got some time there. On the schedule, really looks like we're going to get to 84 games as opposed to 82 where we are right now. That would take away some of the preseason time and shorten the preseason and add 2 regular season games, 1 home and 1 away for each club into next season. And that may allow us, if we start a little bit earlier, start of October like we used to, get to a point where we end the playoffs and the Stanley Cup final middle of June as opposed to the end. So those are 2 big things to look at.
Yeah, with respect to the CBA and the salary cap, it's time. Business is really good. Right. So I hope the league and the Player Association can be aggressive. Look, the players deserve more. They've had to go through escrow. They've had ceilings on it because of COVID. It's time to be aggressive with the payroll and get it as high as possible because business is really good. And I think, Kate, for me, the overarching theme of this, it's not about 84 games versus 82 or the salary cap going to 92 versus 95. It's the fact that if you go back 10 years and I told you that they're going to have conversations to extend the CBA, you would tell me I'm nuts. It was so acrimonious between the PA and the NHL. And now we have a situation where we have labor peace. We have basically, everybody on the same page, wanting to go forward, extend the CBA, make some tweaks. To me, that's great. That tells me that no work stoppages. We don't want that, right? So I think just where we are with respect to the relationship between the league and the PA, has been as good as it's been, I think, in 20 years. And you want to just leverage that and continue to put out this great product in a situation where the market's hot. You want to go forward. You want any disruptions. And I think, to me, that's my biggest takeaway from all these conversations about the CBA.
So I would assume that both of you are for bridging that gap in the cap increase and also for eliminating some preseason games, because we saw, some big injuries this year. A lot of star players sitting out. Wouldn't it be more beneficial for the fans, for the overall product, and for everything for them to be able to be in action faster, more regular season games, and eliminating some of those preseason games that are just a wash for everyone?
Yeah, plus some teams are playing 4 preseason, some teams are playing 8. Let's just get to a middle ground, 4 games max, get to the regular season, get this puppy going.
And with respect to the salary cap, look, the Oilers need to get that as high as possible so you can give Connor $20 million a year. It's very important. So for them, they have a vested interest.
The league. We know the
exactly helps everybody.
You're about to get radioed, DB. I hope you know that.
Okay. Well, it's okay. That's fine.
All right. Well, thank you so much as always. Certainly enough rumors to break down and discuss, and what we've seen, some of those have jumped from the rumor mill right into real life action, and I'm sure the next few weeks we'll continue to see a lot of that as we head into the holiday season. Thank you both, and thank you everyone for watching. It's the latest on the fourth period, and it's presented by CCM Hockey.